let's talk about shares of Rivian, losing 50% of their value so far this year, but up 10% today as the company unveils a new lower-cost electric SUV at a very important time for the company. Our Phil LeBeau is in California with Rivian's CEO for a first on CNBC interview. Phil, take it away.
Tyler, thank you. RJ Scaringe, founder and CEO of Rivian. This is the R2. We're going to talk about that in just a bit, but I think one of the pieces of news that has come out is this was going to be built at your new plant in Georgia.
Yep.
But you're pausing that, correct, that plant? Explain what you're doing here.
Well, we're so excited about this vehicle. We wanted to get it into market as fast as possible. And we'll still be building these in our plant in Georgia, but we're going to first launch them out of our facility in Illinois. And what that gets us is an ability to get it to market quicker, and it saves us well over $2 billion in capital in the process of launching it.
So you are pausing the plant. You're not getting rid of the plant, but you're pausing the development.
Georgia is incredibly important to us. The partnership we have with the state is outstanding. And for us, the most important thing is getting this vehicle into the market as fast as we can, and leveraging what we have in Illinois was really enabling that.
And in the process, conserving some liquidity.
Yeah. I mean, what we've said is it saves us over $2.25 billion.
When you look at building this in Illinois, first half of 26 is when you expect it to come out. You said you were bringing it forward as much as possible. How much time will you save by building it at your existing facility in Illinois?
We haven't said exactly when in early 2026, but it's important that we get it into market. One, because as you see from this room, there's a lot of excitement around the product, but it's also important for us from a business point of view as we scale what this represents for us and really growing the number of addressable customers we have.
You're expecting to start at about $45,000 base price.
Yeah.
Things can change as you get a little bit closer as you go through development. Is that low enough for what the market is looking for right now? Because you know that everybody wants an EV even lower. They want it under $40,000.
Yeah, well, there's a few things to note here. This vehicle, in terms of its size, its package, it we think fits the market where you see the most popular segments, the most popular size, mid-size SUV, beautiful, comfortable package on the inside, but it also qualifies for the federal tax credit. So there's a $7,500 tax credit, which means the end price to a consumer, the starting price would be $37,500. We think that's a really nice package.
Confident that you can hold $45,000 over the next couple of years, given what's happened in this market?
Every single thing we do within the business is focused on driving costs on this and how it's manufactured, how it's built. So that is the #1 priority as we look at development of this vehicle.
You had a bit of a surprise up your sleeve here with the R3 and the R3X.
It's so cool.
Explain this. Now, you don't have a date for when these will be manufactured, but we're talking about a crossover utility vehicle at a lower price point than the $45,000 expected for the R2, right?
Yeah, so R2 represents not just a vehicle, but a platform. And on that platform, we have its sibling product, R3. And R3 is, as you said, it's a crossover. It's a really unique form factor, but the price point on that will be lower, and it'll come out in sequenced after R2.
And when you say that lower price point, what have you heard back from your customers in terms of you've got to come in lower?
Well, I think, leveraging what we do on R2, that platform, but then really taking the vehicle, making it a little smaller, allowing us to take costs out of the battery pack, and then meaningfully take price down below that 45 that we're starting with in R2. That, we think, really opens up a large cross-section of customers that are looking at everything from cars to crossovers to SUVs to hatchbacks. So the R3 really fits such a broad spectrum of buyers.
RJ, Tyler Matheson has a question for you. Tyler, go ahead.
RJ, if I might, you cite the range on this R2 as 300 miles. I'm curious as to how you calculate that range, and will the driver in the real world really get anything close to 300 miles of range? My skepticism comes as an owner of an RV, not one of you, of an EV, not one of yours, and I just don't believe that the cited mileage is what I experience.
Yeah, it's a great question. So when we cite the 300 miles, we think of that as real-world range. There's the EPA standard, which drives what's tested, but it's really important from a customer expectation point of view for us, for the vehicle to achieve that EPA-rated range. And so we've spent a lot of time on that. We've seen that with our R1 products, that the stated range actually matches what you see in the real world. But I think this is a big part of how, when we talk about being authentic with our customers, being authentic with our owners, a big part of what we focus on.
So you seem to acknowledge the possibility that there is a discrepancy between what the EPA test is and what the real world range is. But I'm hearing you say that in this case, when you say 300 miles of range on a charge, you're going to get 300 miles.
Yes, some vehicles certainly you see that discrepancy. With Rivian, and there's lots of people that do these independent tests, we've really focused to make sure we achieve the range that we talk about in terms of EPA.
RJ, you're talking about this latest decision in terms of pausing in Georgia, a savings near term of $2.25 billion. And I'm not expecting you to give guidance, but as you've gone through what's really been a crushing 6 months, how comfortable are you with your liquidity right now?
Well, this, being able to launch R2 both earlier and being able to launch it with a lot less capital is really important for us to take the capital we have and take that through the launch of R2. And it really allows us to have a lot more flexibility and control our destiny in that regard, and not having to be subject to some of the volatility of the capital markets.
When you see what's happening in the EV market, your shares are getting crushed. Almost all EV shares and EV company shares are getting crushed. What's your thought?
I think ultimately, what we can say here is the world will electrify. Every car sold in the United States, and for that matter, all markets, will eventually be electric. Now, the question we can debate is when that happens. But key to that is getting great choices. Customers need choices that are deeply compelling. And that's how we see R2. We see it as something that's going to take the success we've had with R1, translate that into a lower price point, smaller form factor. So I've never been this excited about a product as I am about R2.
RJ Scaringe, founder and CEO of Rivian, on a big day here in Laguna Beach where they unveiled the R2 and the R3. Guys, back to you.
So let's get some reaction from a top analyst on whether the new vehicle will give Rivian a boost. Tom Ryan is global autos analyst at RBC. He's had a hold rating on the stock since he downgraded it from outperform last April. Tom, what do you make of what you heard today? Does anything make you want to move that I guess your rating from either a sell to a buy, or you feel hold is appropriate after what we know now?
Yeah, I think hold is appropriate given the uncertainty on the profitability of this product. But I do want to say the products this company creates are very impressive for the consumer. The question investors have to know is, are these products really good for investors? And so far, Rivian produces its cars at a loss. And that's at a higher price point, the R1, right? So the R2 now at a lower price point. I think the question on a lot of folks' minds is how will they be able to produce this car that's so compelling, 300 plus miles of range, as we found out, profitably? And that is it. There's some uncertainty there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the hope I assume was they would pick up in some volume, but in that interview, which I believe you heard, he was talking about the cost as our own Philibert was interviewing him and asking him about the price. And he says everything we do has cost in mind. So now that you know the price, I don't know if you've been able to update your model so quickly, but you know that it's $45,000. Does that help at all with understanding how much closer they may be able to get to that profitability standard?
No, I think this was largely the expected price. Okay. I have modeled in R2 in my model, but with profitability, it's a question of how big is this battery? What are they paying for battery costs? We just don't know that. They've told us that the R1 will be break even on gross profit by the end of 2024. We have to see evidence of it. Now, if they were able to achieve that, that would be tremendous, and that would give people more credence to believe they can get that for R3, but until we see that evidence, it's just difficult to get really constructive in our view.
Does Rivian have to get this one right?
Yes, definitely, right? There's R1, we saw what happened a couple of weeks ago when they gave production guidance for 2024 for the R1, and it's essentially flat. Surprised a lot of folks. You saw what happened with the stock as a result. R2 is really where the volumes are supposed to come from. Recall Tesla did the same playbook. It started out with the S and the X, very expensive, low volume cars, created this brand, and then came out with the 3 and the Y, right? And those are high volume cars today. That's what makes the profit center for Tesla. Here, that's what Rivian's hoping for, that R2 and R3 become the profit center. They build on the brand that they've created and really get the volume and the scale needed for profitability, but ultimately come down to demand, and that's where we have some concerns about, especially given the competition we're seeing from Jeep, from Ford, from GM. Remember, Tesla didn't have any of that competition. Rivian's going to be coming out with these vehicles in a very competitive subset, also with an EV slowdown.
So let me just, you answered really what was going to be my next question, and that is, are there lessons from Tesla's experience that that Rivian could apply here, and you just nailed it, because where they started to get profitable is when they came in to the market with lower priced items, the Model Y and the Model 3. Let's turn to the question of range. Range is the high anxiety factor for most EV buyers and owners. Is 300 miles sufficient? What is the breakthrough point where people, do you believe, where people are going to go, I want an EV because I don't have to worry about the range issue anymore?
Yeah, great question. This is the #1 issue that folks say is why the EV slowdown is happening with consumers, especially in the US, is range. I will say that 300 miles should be sufficient. And with Rivian, they've proven that when they say the mileage range, it is actually accurate.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. The bigger issue, though, is consumer demand for EVs in general. And that, I think, is something that needs to be kind of explored first.
What about the R3 and the R3X? Those were, I guess, a little bit more unexpected today. Do you have any immediate reaction to that?
Yeah, I think we had heard, this has been speculated in the press, that there's going to be a crossover. I guess it was a surprise that it came out today, although I did read some things that, I mean, it's definitely something that we were expecting them to come out with a crossover at some point. Probably going to be a very competitive product. I don't think that's ever been the issue. These guys make beautiful products that are very compelling for consumers. Consumers will get a great product probably, but ultimately it comes down to the question of profitability for Rivian. And also it's a competitive market right now. So, you know, they're going to have to bring that price to a level that consumers will be willing to spend.
All right, guys, this is the part of the show where I break down the stocks that were mentioned on the CNBC clip. We're going to be starting with Rivian, obviously. Let's take a look at it, just what it's doing today. Today it's up 12%, almost 13%, guys. You can see here it was yesterday. This move is just magnificent. It was at a high of 15.2%. Looks like it's on its way back up there. Let's go back to the daily chart. This thing has just been descending and descending. Let's zoom in. You can see just how vicious this descend pattern has been. It's been relentless, guys. They cannot catch a break. Even when they jump what looks like an astronomical amount, yeah, they double up, jump 100%, guys. They come all the way back. They're lower than when they jumped 100%. Sure, they're up 10% today, but you can just see how small of a blip this is on the radar. I hope for Rivian's sake that this is what's going to be their new thing and get them back, because right now their stock is in the dumps, and I'm not sure how far or how much more it can take. Let's see how far it has to come back. Just to close the gap, folks, we have 20%, and it's already up 15% almost. This is insane. Let's just see to recent highs before that. It has to double up. Guys, I'm definitely not an investor in Rivian. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm just saying I won't. Take a look at this chart and tell me if that's what your net worth looked like, would you be happy? I would not be happy. Let's take a look. Amazon owns a lot of Rivian. You can see it's not affecting their stock at all. They're dang near at all-time highs, guys. Phenomenal stock. I'm in it at 119. You can see this trend line here. Amazon is holding it perfectly. Bounced off right here. Second time, third time, didn't quite get there, and it's still holding it until we break. And when we break, we should have a pretty significant sell-off to sideways correction. But as of right now, we're headed back to all-time highs, guys. Some other EV stocks, they're just getting wrecked. We'll look at Tesla and NIO here in a second. This is Lucid. My good golly. Let's just look from $60. Over the last 2 years, guys, 95%. What is going on here? Lucid, how is this even sustainable? How are they not BK? I honestly don't understand. I haven't heard too much about Lucid, but this is probably why. Anybody that wants it, talks about it, owns it, anything with it, they've lost money, they're losing, they're probably underwater, and they don't really have too much more to say. They're waiting for it to turn around, but guys, my goodness, again, we want to invest in stocks that are literally the opposite. We want stocks to go up this consistently, not down this consistently. We'll check out NIO, see how they've been doing. Man, I expected better from NIO. This is about the last time I paid attention to NIO and this dip. Then I saw it a little bit at the bottom here, but it has just been consistently straight down. Looks like every time it pumps up, guys, is a good time to get out. We are starting to kind of make a base down here, starting to kind of bottom. I would say this is a support and is looking kind of bullish. If it does break $5.30, you need to get out. Other than that, it's so cheap, you might want to throw some money at it. It's totally up to you if you believe in NIO and the EV market over the long run. And then on to Tesla. Don't know why I'm typing it in, because it's right here. Look at this, constantly rejected, lower highs, about 10 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 lower highs in a perfect trend line. And then it's even more. Lower highs, lower lows, guys. If we do somehow break out above this red line, it's going to be major bullish. But as of right now, if we break 175, 172, somewhere in there, it's going to be another bloodbath. Just in the last 5 days, it's been a bloodbath. Let's see what we're down. 14%. That doesn't look like 14%, but that's a lot. Imagine if we break this, we're going to 150. Right back down to this low and these highs, or even farther, 100 if we can't hold that. So guys, this stock can just get devastated. I'm sure it offers a lot of money if you want to play it one way or the other. Me, I'm staying away from all EV stocks right now. They're just too risky and uncertain, and all of their charts are descending no matter what. So if anything, you're doing yourself a favor, and when they do turn around, you can get them a little lower. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please subscribe, hit that like button. And if you know anybody that likes these type of videos, share it so I can grow my channel. I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.